Can you hear me?
Happy Thursday! Hopefully, everybody's doing great. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic that is dear and near to my heart. And the whole reason why I believe that people from Sparta should keep pushing people out of little edges. It's always fun. So, let's see. So, today we have Bruno, or self love coach, Kara, our executive coach, Irina Pornova, or manifestation coach, and me for any of your business needs, marketing, and taxes. So, welcome everyone. All right, everybody's very very quiet. Let's go and let me get started with some of what's going on. So we all can agree that life has changed over this past 100 years, right? Work life balance, gender equality, so many things have changed. And unfortunately, education and justice system has not caught up to that. Let me start with the ladies. I'm going to give the ladies a chance. What are the things that you think as a lady by 2024 when we leave now should be already a common thing, a normal thing, something that should be normalized?
Oh, I think that we should have passed the Equal Rights Act the last 17 times it came to Congress.
Okay. Equal rights on the sense of the same gender marriage or
So
equal rights?
ERA simply says that people have equal rights. Period. As far as anything legal or if we're holding things up, your rights should be exactly the same as mine, and my rights should be exactly the same as yours, regardless of how we feel, believe, or think the other person is. The rights ought to be exactly the same. Until we do that, we cannot create the systemic changes we need for an equitable justice system.
Okay. For example, one of the rights that you think it should change or should be renewed or reviewed.
Oh, for example, the fact that the variance in rights, as just in marriage rights, the fact that we have to have those conversations, the idea that people have rights to their body, the idea that wages, if you have a position and it is this way, you have this is what it is and this is what the pay is, well, we're going to pay that to men, we'll pay 75% less to women, 25% less to women. Those are rights. You have a right to that wage. You have a right to choose to be happy. You have a right to go forth in a way and partner in ways that make you content and happy. That's not on it. That those rights take nothing from anyone else. They simply allow everyone to be on an equal footing. If we have that, then we can say, okay, well, this person's not actually hurting people with this right, and this person is not. Then we can treat this problem and not the situation.
Okay, I like that. And a question to that would be, and it's gonna take people maybe to think about it for a moment, because there's a lot of people that don't want women to make the same as a man
Sure.
because they believe that they will be into their masculine, and then they will not be able to be ruled by any man, which is
Yes.
BS. I think it's more like, if the woman is being properly treated and everything is good, if the woman makes more than the man, makes absolutely no difference.
Nope.
But that's exactly part of the situation that a lot of people, and I'm gonna say people because this has nothing to do with gender or
Nope.
what you have between your legs.
We see it
It-
everywhere.
yeah, it's about being a good human being. Because unfortunately, believe it or not, there are women and there are men, because I've actually seen them both, where because of how much they make, they treat the other person like crap,
Oh yeah.
men and women. So yeah, I agree. It has to be changed, because I think that if your worth for society is higher, you should be paid more or equal, you know? But it has to be based on real rankings, not just because of what you have between your legs.
Yes. And that if this is the job and you hire me for the job and this is the pay that comes with it, then don't tell me I'm getting a different wage. If
That-
the thing is you get to have full control over your body, you are a human being who has a right to their body, well then that never changes. No one gets to put rights over your body. No one, all of these things, if we actually level the playing field, that would allow us freedoms for equity, right? Did you see what I'm saying? So if everybody has the same rights, that means nobody's taking my right to choose what I do with my body doesn't take any rights from you. Now, there's
Absolutely.
big, deep religious conversations that go into that. There is societal mental health ones. Like I have the right to tattoo my face. That could have very negative effects on my life. It could, but also it's my face. So
Yep, I agree with you. What about you, Irina? What topics or what laws do you think that should be revised, changed, or adjusted besides
I
the ones
think,
Sarah covered?
I think in my world, in my universe, I think we have to educate people more on the awareness and how to change our beliefs system and how to actually live the life to the fullest. This is something that's still hidden from majority of people, and astrology is not taken seriously, numerology is not taken seriously, and people are laughing about it, not realizing that like if you really start looking into these disciplines, you realize that your life is actually written down already. So I think it's more about like bringing awareness, and there is a reason why we are taken out from these topics, because the society just doesn't want us to know that. The society wants us to follow and be like everybody else. So for me, it's very important to bring that law and right for every person to be educated from that perspective, and really holding the life in their own hands rather than delivering their lives to the society.
Okay, that's more in the matter of education, pretty much, in becoming aware of what's going on, but more towards what has to be done with with the justice system, with the things that we live on the everyday here on everywhere. Because yes, while all that is important, that could fall into the spiritual realm, and it could be fall into a lot of awakening, because it has taken me. I am 36, going to 37. I think. Yes, I think I'm 36. I'm not 37 yet. I think I'll do the math later. But but just recently, like I'm talking about 10 months or less ago, I finally started understanding what you mentioned regarding the astrology and everything. But today's topic is more about system, justice system, gender equality, things that we have to start talking, that people are afraid of talking because they don't want to be viewed different.
but to Arena's point, that the education system, so we educate people completely differently in different areas. If you are in a very wealthy neighborhood, the education that you get is substantially different than if you are in a poverty neighborhood. There are standards for tests, but there are not a standard for information. And so much of it is because systemically we have generations of inequality that says, I'm going to tell you what you get to know, rather than here are the things that there is to know. What can you do good with these? But that is because of that injustice, that inequality, that desire to create these hierarchies as if one person is better than another because they earn more, or because they live in a different area, or because they have different beliefs than somebody else, or because they have a different gender than somebody else, or because all the BS.
And I agree with you, and that's why I mentioned a minute ago that I agree with Kara, that no, with Kara, with Irina, that it is that she meant it about education. I agree with you on that one. It is about education, but here's the thing, and I don't believe that anybody is better than somebody else, because hey, let's be honest, when we all go to the bathroom, no matter how much money you make, it's gonna stink. Okay, so what I'm trying to say with this part is that education is something that definitely we have to tackle no matter what. It's like, to me, is a no-brainer. It has to be done. But I'm talking about things that systematically haven't changed over the years. And I'm gonna get back to it because I want to go back to Irina's point and your point. I agree with both of you that education has to change. I agree 1,000%. You don't know how much I dislike the school system because besides teaching you how to read, write, do math, how many times was the last time that you used world history in your life after you finished high school?
I'm a 4-year-olds for doing that every day now. I'm the worst person to ask ever.
No, but that's true. I mean, when was the last time you figure out what's the value of X?
Yeah. I mean, so here's where this is why you can't separate any of these conversations. If you're going to talk about the justice system, you have to talk about equity. You have to talk about education because they're so intertwined. So I was really lucky to have multiple levels of education. I came from a wealthy family and got to learn in a wealthy school district, the Redmond High School and junior high area. I mean, we were right next to Microsoft and getting upgrades and computers regularly. That is unheard of for many people. I got to have books growing up. Not everybody gets that. I also got to go live in a poverty space and learn about what it takes to budget and what does it mean that you have to decide which thing needs to get paid now because that's the bigger priority than the other. And because of that, I can see more sides. Because the more you understand never comes with more fear. More understanding never leads to more fear. It never does.
No, the more light you have in a room, the better you can see things.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty about it. The thing is that a lot of people nowadays, and I say nowadays, because I keep asking people sometimes tell me, hey, this is my issue. And I don't know why. They come up to me, they feel really, really comfortable enough to tell me about all their issues. I don't know what it is, but they love it. And usually when they give me an issue, and I usually don't try to solve the problem. I usually suggest a book. Out of the people that have given me an issue, you know how many have read at least one of the books that I've recommended? Exactly that number, 0.
0.
So sometimes people like to be in that spot.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's familiar.
mhm. So there's nothing we can do with the people that don't want to do it. But I agree, the people that want to do it, we should give them tools. We should give them anything they need to go and achieve what they want to achieve. And that's that's why hierarchies are never going to end.
But I do think that some people don't want to do it that way. Right? So you've suggested a book, but they don't want that book. Sociologically speaking, in leadership development, if you give an employee a book and they read it, they will only retain about 20%, even though they did the due diligence and followed up with the lesson with you and wrote the thing and showed you that they understood competence. But if they go buy a book,
Okay. Kara, I'm going to ask you
retaining.
a question. I have recommended people to you. How many phone calls have you received?
Nobody calls me. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Somebody offers me or tells me something that's wrong in their life, I don't give them just one way. I usually give the books because usually if people actually pick up the book, I would actually invest more time on them.
Sure.
But if they don't show me that they don't have the discipline to pick up a book, why would I waste my time? I have that.
And you shouldn't, but that doesn't mean that they need to pick up the book.
I understand, and that's why I give them the freedom to do it or not.
Yes. And
But
that's really, so going to what we were talking about before, and I would encourage you to share some of your story as clean and, redacted as you can. So much of what the weight of not having access to other options, right? So we fall back on these, well, because it was really bad this way, now we're going to do it this way because that fixed this one thing, just like you're offering that tool. So here's what you said your problem is, right? Here's a tool for that. Here's another tool for that. Here's another tool for that. Come to find out, this is just one problem, and really it's underneath giant problem. So they might want to go deal with this problem, but as soon as they look at that book, then the other problem lands on top of it, and they're like, oh, which we see in the justice system, right? So we make these adjustments, we make these changes, we try and make it more equitable. We're going to lean in this favor, we're going to lean in this favor, and then we start leaning, and we're like, ah.
Yep. So yes, and I agree, and that brings me to my situation nowadays, which is okay. Why do we make it so complicated to get a divorce? Why? I mean, we make it so easy to get married, so cheap and affordable that everybody wants it, but they forget what is the side effects. And I'm not saying that everybody has to go through the side effects. I'm just saying that there is a lot to be learned from the legal system, because in love nobody's a master on it, but we can do our best, right? As human beings, we're already flawed, but the legal system should actually have some common sense. I'm just saying because unfortunately I don't know how it's on another state, but here in the state of Florida, they protect women so much. Like, if you're gonna leave the woman, you have to make sure you leave this and that and that and that and that. And then, God forbid, she tells you that she deserves alimony. They will get you in jail first, and they'll ask questions later. Same thing. God forbid tells you that you missed a child support payment, because they will get you in jail first and ask questions later. So things like that are things that to me are not common sense. And and believe me, I am a firm believer that a man is not a man unless he's protecting his woman, he's taking care of his woman, and making sure that the woman he has is as happy as he can make. Okay? But here comes the other side. Some women, not every woman, have the belief that because they're women, they deserve and they must get everything and anything they say, because otherwise they will make hell come true in your real life. And that's where the legal system, doesn't say anything about it. Get divorced. Just get divorced. But you don't make it easy. You don't make it easy to get rid of of that other person. And then the guy gets bothered and bothered and bothered and bothered so much until he does something stupid. In Spanish we say, a lot of people say that dog is bad when the dog bites somebody, but everybody forgets how many times that dog got kicked before he even thought about biting people.
Right. And I absolutely agree. I think that is why we got to where we are, right? Is that women have been kicked for generations, literally traded as property. You would trade your daughter because men were protecting their families, and they know what women need to be protected with. They're the ones whose job it is, even if that's not how the woman wanted to be protected. So then we shifted to the other side, and we watch as men trying to do their best aren't getting the props, and the women who are out there trying to fight against these terrible men who aren't doing the best are still getting held back by the same process. It's almost as if it has nothing to do with male or female. It's almost as if it has to do with who makes the biggest noise and who makes it more uncomfortable.
That is sadly true. Who makes it more uncomfortable? And unfortunately, if you have kids in the equation, because let's face it, me, I'm a grown ass man. Any woman can throw anything at me, I'll let that shit slide. And I usually don't curse here, but I'm upset. So the thing is that I would let it slide. But at this point, when my daughter's the one being hurt, like, what the hell is wrong with you? What the hell's wrong with some women? And I say some very open because not every woman's like that, and I gotta remember that.
And
But
what's wrong with some people who would let a divorce take 10 years, who would let figuring out a child situation take more than a year, 24 months would be excessive in this. Yeah. So if we take the male female out and you look just basically at your situation, what would you love to see as some really healthy standards that would be for everyone?
me personally, if the system would say, you know what, no matter what, whenever you split, everything goes split down the middle, assets, debts, everything, and of course, the kid will be making the justice system will make sure the kid is with the best fit parent to take care of that kid. I'm down. That to me is common sense. That to me is good. Or whichever, in this case, whichever parent wants to take care of the kid. Because in my case, my ex-wife did not want to take care of my kid. The only time she wanted to take care of it is when she was receiving child support. The second that I told her, you know what, no more because my kid is living with me. Hell no, I don't want your kid no more. So
Yeah.
that to me,
So I heard there was split down the middle. Whatever you have gets split, and who wants the child gets the child, or who can take best care of the child.
correct.
Okay, so let's say that you come into a relationship, and not yours, but let's say the woman came in with $5 million and the man came in with $25. So when they get together, they split. But the man loves this child. He loves her so deeply and so intensely, but he only has a 1-bedroom apartment. Whereas the woman, even in the split direct down the middle, she has a 5-bedroom house, but she doesn't give it about the kid. She's going to have the nanny take care of it. Now, publicly, you would think a 5-bedroom house with a nanny would be the best place for that child. But I would think that the person who loves them would be the best place. So that's where equal is not equitable.
I agree with you, but you said the key word. The woman can have a 5-bedroom apartment or house, but she doesn't want the child.
Didn't say she didn't love the child that way, right?
Well,
So,
she
and
doesn't
how
love
do you
it.
quantify love?
Well, that's the hard part. That is truly a hard part. How do you actually measure it? How do you actually know if it's true love? That is the hard part, and I believe me, I understand that one 1,000%, and that's why I think there should be kind of like, okay, let's see how the child does with one parent. Let's see how the child does with the other parent. Let's figure it, because I don't have an answer, like a perfect answer, but I do believe that everybody's case is different, and there should be like just like we have options to problems to like regular day problems, we should have options to this kind of problem, because to me is just the most common sense to stay with whomever loves the kid is going to look out for whatever's best for the kid. That's
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But when you're in a fight, some people will pretend to be one way or the other.
Oh
I mean,
yes,
that's,
oh yes,
yeah.
and that's the part that is hard. That's why I think that gender equality plays a big deal, because unfortunately the courthouses, and I'm quoting exactly what this person told me at the Palm Beach County courthouse, unless she's dealing drugs, being a prostitute, and on top of that, because being a prostitute is not enough, she has to put the child in danger, because she can be a prostitute, but she has to put the child in
Yeah.
danger. Yeah, that's what they said.
Yep.
Then and only then you can fight for custody. So if she's either selling drugs or is a prostitute who's putting, because the mom in the state of Florida can be a prostitute, although it's illegal in all United States, I think.
I
She
think
can.
it's legal in Vegas too.
Yeah, there you go. So
Pretty
she
sure.
can be a prostitute, but as long as she's not putting the kid in danger, she still can be the mom. And I'm not saying that people that deal with those things cannot be good people. All I'm saying is that there are people who are not fit to have a kid. Because
Oh, I so agree with that, but we don't make people take tests to have kids.
I know. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where my situation comes from. That's why I am so firmly upset. And that's why me, I don't let many things fly by me. If I say something to somebody, let's say that I'm going out with a girl, and the girl starts, acting up and trying to push me her way, her way, her way. I will, for the first time, tell her, hey, I'm not going that way, just to let you know. And the second time, I let her know, hey, you already tried to push me once. The second time is not gonna fly. It's been a pleasure knowing. Not because I'm intolerant, but because nowadays women feel so entitled, and with the laws on their side, they're a menace for society or for most men.
Oh, interesting. So I would say that men feel entitled. This is why we don't have an Equal Rights Act that has been signed, because they feel entitled to tell other people what their boundaries need to be. I've experienced that. But I would go so far as to say my experience has been with both men and women doing that. I don't think women feel entitled. I don't think men feel entitled. I think people do.
I agree with the people side, but in my case, I've never tried to date a man. Usually, they're not my type, and I think beers itch.
But even if you're not dating,
I'm messing with you. It's a
right? Yeah.
I agree with you on the part that yes, it's a people thing, but nowadays, like for example, good example, I had a friend that unfortunately he went to jail for this. His wife was present when the whole incident happened. Okay, he had a small garage where he can only fit one car and super tightly his motorcycle. Okay, the wife was outside the house watching her daughter and the neighbor's daughter play. Dad came from riding a motorcycle, and the girl said, hey, can we help you push it in, because he had a little ramp to put it on top of the car. Can we push it in? Mind you, the girls were around 11 years old, almost 12. When he was pushing the motorcycle, he lost a little bit of control, and the motorcycle was going to fall on top of the neighbor's daughter, this other kid. So he grabs the motorcycle, and unfortunately, the way that he grabs the motorcycle is here, and the girl's chest is right here. So he apologized and everything. Mother and the girl, when they finished playing, whatever, and everything was good. Girl goes to the mother's house, and in the middle of the night, they get the cops in the house and take the father for molesting a child, and he went to jail 10 years.
I'm not sure where you're going with that story.
Where I'm going with that story is that, number one, should he have let the motorcycle fall on top of the little girl just
And he's
because?
been liable then too.
I know that's what I'm saying. There are things that you cannot control. That's why in my dance studio, I always tell them, and I tell the ladies and I'll tell the guys, hey, you gotta be careful. You gotta be, a good person. You're not gonna be just coming here to grab the other girl, you know. But accidents will happen. It's not about if, they will happen. And because of what the lady said, this guy went to jail for 10 years. My friend, the lady, she lost her husband for 10 years. So what I'm saying is that sometimes the law is too much on the lady side. Of course, don't get me wrong. If he was, or any person was to touch,
I don't see how this was a lady thing. Please explain that more. So,
because to me is that if that would have been a boy, an 11-year-old boy, and he touched with his three fingers the front of the chest, it wouldn't have happened.
huh? So in a space of entitlement, if we want to talk about that, right? So in a space of entitlement, men are entitled to putting their hands on boys' chests, but not on girls' chests.
It's not about entitlement. Is that if the accident would have happened with a boy instead of a girl, nothing would. I'm not saying that he's
Maybe
or
we don't know. That's a total guess.
The
I
wife.
mean, you're pulling out made up belief things into a situation. That complicates things. You can't, if you want to have a real conversation for change, you can't just, well, what if it were a boy, then this wouldn't have happened. That is inequality. That is the entitlement speaking, that I believe this way, therefore, if this had happened, I know it would have been different, but we don't know. What we do know, the guy got in trouble molesting a little girl, and from his point of view, he was saving her. But through the court system, they proved that it was there was an inappropriate touch. But if we're going to play the what if game, what if he had not said, what if he had said, no, you're 12 years old and this is my bike? What if he had said, go get your dad so he can help too? What if he had, we can't do that.
But that's the part that I'm saying. There is a lot of what ifs, but more than likely this wouldn't have happened the other way.
What if he had had a situation with them before? What if she felt uncomfortable? What if she felt that she was being in a situation and didn't realize it was going on? We can go in any direction if we're going to play the what if game.
And that's what I'm saying. And that is exactly what I'm saying. The what if game is an issue, but let's leave the what if for a second aside. I think that for the guy not letting the bike hit the girl, I think it was a better odd. I don't think he should have gone to jail for something like that.
I can agree with you. I can absolutely agree that trying to save someone should not end up in jail time. That tells me that there are already other things going on in this situation. Besides a clear cut, I made sure that
it was more than the other family had money for a lot of lawyers, for 3 lawyers to be exact, and the other family did not. They just had one appointed by law.
So now we're back to education. Now we're back to poverty versus wealth. Now we're back to equal rights. Yeah. So it has very little to do with entitlement as far as male or female goes, as far as I can tell just in this conversation. And Arena and Bruno, I know we're boring you to pieces because both of you are like, oh, okay, it's a Karen and Johnny show. Jump in any time, like literally.
I think if I talk about justice system, I'm getting canceled and somebody's going to kill me. So I think that's what we're talking about.
That's fair. I address this stuff pretty openly. So that's good. Yeah. Safety for you. I support that. Be safe.
You know what? The only thing I want to add is I have friends that had another experience, Johnny. So I think it's all depends, like which side of the story. I had the girl who can't get rid of this guy, and like the guy was very well established doctor, and he didn't give a dollar on their child, but now he is fighting all the time with her. And obviously the child is living with her, but he puts her through so much hell without even any cause for it. So the thing is, there is always 2 different sides, and it all depends which like side you're in. There are the women who shouldn't be placed as parents, and there are men who shouldn't be placed as parents as well. So we can't just say that like men are getting more screwed up than women, because this is your story, and I totally understand you, and I totally feel for you, and I have compassion for that side of the story. Yet I know my dear friend what she went through. So for me, I cannot say that, good thing that, justice is on his side. which they still kind of, still bringing the issues back and forth, because he just can't settle with the fact that, he can't influence whatever decisions she makes.
Okay, and here's my question. The issue was because he was not paying child support, or he was just
No, he's paying child support, but he is constantly on her case because I don't know, he always finds the issues, right? And he always finds the issues just to give her the problem.
okay. And
Although, like he has the rights to see the child, and, like he doesn't take her anywhere but his house. And, like this is also, like another story of, the thing. It just, somebody who has the means. And because he was able to hire the lawyers, he was always threatening her that, because she's in a position, she used to have 2 businesses and she lost everything because thanks to him. And he was threatening her that, like she's nothing. So like when I hear this kind of stories, so I can't say that it's always the law is always on the, like on the women's side, because there is a lot of things that, women go through. So it all depends, which story you belong to and what exactly is going on in your particular situation.
okay, I understand that part, but here will be my question to most people or most men that do want their child, that are not just plain people that want to make the other's lives miserable. Why do we have to go through so many hoops? Why? Because in your case, seems that your friend, she wants her kids with her. She wants to take care of her kids. In my case, she doesn't want to take care of the kids. Yet, law would actually give my child to her just because she's the woman. Not because,
Absolutely. And I agree with that. But then again, can we change something about it?
well, until we don't start speaking freely about it, I don't think we're going to change anything because most people are just afraid to talk. They're afraid of saying something that might ruffle feathers.
They
Starting
might
with
come out and get it.
What was that, Bruno?
Starting with politicians. Big up Trump.
Exactly. We go, like it's, it has to start from politics.
I think it has.
I think it has to start with relationships, really, right? And so, I mean, there's a reason that a lot of law students lose weight right around having to take their bar exam. That stress and that amount of knowledge that they have to download, oh, because there is so much nuance. Because there is so much change, because we do take into account generations of problems where the child was put with the mothers, whether they wanted them or not, whether they could support them or not, because that was a woman's job. And then we realize, well, that's not right. What about these men that do want them? And then we put them with the men and come to find out there are a lot of men out there who say they want something but don't, and or say that they're willing to commit to it. Like, I'll commit to paying child support and then don't, or they're commit to taking the kid, but they're constantly putting it back on the wife. And then we make more hoops for both people to jump for. And then somebody on either side forces the hand in another direction where we build some more hoops for people to jump through. And then it takes 10 years to get a divorce when both people agree that this is what they actually want.
Mm-hmm. It sums it up. It sums it up. While I can get from this conversation that the system is going to be flawed no matter what, I do believe that each case should be diligently checked up, and there shouldn't be that many hopes for men or women, because it's upsetting. It's upsetting the point that somebody really wants to make sure their kid is in a good position, man or woman, and the other person is just being a freaking asshole.
And
Just
that's
because
it.
the one can too.
As soon as we start saying, well, if it had been a boy, or if it had been a girl, or if it was a man, or if it was a woman, as soon as that what if comes into it, now we've stopped the conversation, because boy, howdy, do we have more than enough ammunition on both sides to have that fight for 10 years and get nowhere, because that's what we've been doing. If we stop that, stop saying, well, it's designed to protect women. Well, it's designed to protect men. Well, it's designed to do this. Well, it's designed to do this. Can you tell me, what do you want, though?
I mean, the thing is that originally that's what it was meant for.
What you want for women. Tell me, what would be a good design for humans?
And that's the thing, because humans have evolved, but the court system and laws have not, and they refuse to evolve.
It's the way it's always been. I mean, it's not. Nothing is the way it's always been, but that's yes. Yeah.
Somewhat. I got you.
I mean, like literally nothing. Nothing on this planet is the same as it has always been. Even gender norms. Men used to wear wigs, makeup, and high heels and skirts.
Yeah. That is
Literally nothing is the way it has always been. So the idea that we're going to do things the way they have always been, that's like saying it's designed for men or it's designed for women. No, it's just not designed to be equitable for humans.
and that's the part that now that we have gone through a bunch of situations, let's figure, what would you like to see as a change?
Oh, I can answer that so fast. I would love our entire war budget to be reallocated back into social structures, so that there were people who could check up on social services. So there was mental health support. So there was support for teachers. So there was support for our communities, so that we could start leveling out the poverty gaps in our communities rather than feeding the war machine. That's my BS, though. Ask me again. I'll tell you again.
How about you, Irina? How would you envision a better, more equitable way of living?
For me, it's all about the peace. I do not care about the politics, and I don't involve in the conversation, because honestly, I don't watch the news. I'm staying away from it, not because I just, I'm so illiterate in that. It's just because it doesn't have any interest for me. So I'm completely focusing on myself and what can I do for my life and for the people around me. So for me, if you ask what I would change, I would want to see more communities of people who are united and who are meditating for the peace and love in this world. That's what I would do.
Okay, good. And Bruno, for you, what would be the changes that you would make?
Okay, here we go. Whatever, I don't give a fuck. So, I would actually start making some change, like some real change. Not some, somebody has a lot of money or whatever. We all know that land controls the world, like it always was, right? There's no slaves anymore, but the reality is that people are still going to a job every single day, right? Going and coming back in order because they need it. It's still slavery. And I don't mean this in a bad way. You can, have a very honorable job and have a very honorable living, no prostitution, no selling drugs, no nothing, right? But let's face it, a guy who runs a fucking drug business knows more about business than a guy who's in business school. And he's doing it illegally, man.
And
Right.
that proves my point, that people that are passionate about whatever they do, even if it's drugs, even if it is correct, they tend to love it so much that they will immerse themselves in that world and learn just because they love it. That is part of the education part that I would change.
Yeah. And I feel as well that when it comes to patriarchy and the values that men have created over time, now a lot of men are starting to see, because we're talking also about gender equality, now a lot of men are also starting to see the disadvantages that we also talked about a hustle culture, right? This could also be in hustle culture. We kind of didn't touch it, I don't believe so. About the patriarchy, right? A lot of men are complaining about, especially my generation, and some other people from other generations are complaining that, oh, man, this, man, that. Motherfucker, bro, you created this. Our ancestors created this system that we have today. If anything, you should complain about them, right? And that's something that is not going to change. And lastly, um, I just want to say this. The reason why things don't change is the things that don't change and the ones that really need to be changed, because if they change, we become less controllable. People become less controllable. Now, I don't want to be here with theories, and neither of that, because neither do I believe this is the place for that, neither the topic, because it's a completely different conversation. But let's face the facts, right? Only poor, broke, ignorant people are racist. Only poor, ignorant, broke people, are homophobic, right? If you put all the people who have no knowledge fighting against each other, and you create this fake enemy that doesn't even exist. The real enemy is the one who creates the fake enemy, and you put all those people, right, fighting against each other for something that is not even real, when we're all the goddamn same, right? A lot of people in America, they talk about like Black History Month or whatever. You have no idea what Black History Month even is. No idea. You have no clue. And I'm fucking white. And I'm saying this shit. Right? People have no idea. Like, people talk about Africa or whatever. There's a reason why Africa is the country, the poorest country. Because over the years it was the richest, but everybody took it from them. Belgium, Portugal, Spain, France. I believe English and Dutch people as well. There are some countries in Africa where there's, for example, South Africa, right? Like, what the fuck, right? So, and they only got their independence like 50, 60, 70 years ago. Now, this has nothing to do with America, but because we're talking about Black History Month, right? So all the countries, like, I think it's either Mali or Mauritania. I think there was a king like thousands or hundreds of years ago. The guy had like 4 or 5 like quadrillions of gold or whatever. Like, the most, like, he was more than shit rich. He was, I don't even know how to explain it. And all this, like, and so much more than that. Like, so much that would be an entire like different, like, that would be like an hour more and a part two of it, right? It's just like there's so much fake information up there.
Bruno, you're breaking in and out. I can hardly hear some of the things you're saying.
Yeah, I apologize. Can you hear me?
That's better.
Did you hear what I said though?
Like, most of it, sort of what I was hearing is like, the more communication we have, the more we can break through these things. And with more understanding never comes more fear. It just comes more love and more understanding.
Yes, yeah, basically. Now, yeah, basically, yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's like I was saying. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you're on point, right? You're on point. But it's like I'm saying, I gave some examples on why, like a lot of things I know are kind of controlled and stuff, and I gave some examples on what could be changed and stuff. But I just feel like that, like people have to start speaking up. And guess what? It's not with riots that's gonna happen, because again, like hurt, using anger and pain and doing loots and riots and whatever to go against something, you're just creating more of that. And there's no justice in that, no matter how painful you may feel. Now, I have luckily never been a part of a social minority, right? Um, so, however, I don't know how it feels. But when I watch from the sidelines, I see the results, and I don't see any good result. Um, so if we were able to kind of change that, educate people in good stuff with education as well, right? Have more spiritual schools, right? Who teach kids meditation since they're kids, and we can like cut, for example, violence from a lot of places, right? There's no point in being a genius if you have no emotional intelligence. In fact, being a genius comes from having emotional intelligence, right? If it is emotions that run our life and you can't even control them, you'll always be a feather in the wind. Anything that you can project onto, you will, right? And that's just plainly wrong, right? um so yeah, that's just a couple of ideas that I kind of have, a couple of opinions that I have. And yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay. So I guess we all agree on that education is the first thing that we have to fix in order for this to actually go somewhere. Because we all agree that our system, our justice system, and gender equality ways are wrong. They're out of balance. So that's part of why we all are all here. And if you saw, we all have different points of view, different angles, but we agree on one thing, that no matter how many are the things that sets us apart, there are much, much, much more the ones that puts us together. And that's the beauty about this team and the people that are around us in the Empower Entrepreneurial Suites. It's it's just a matter of us actually doing something, not just talking about it. And that is the one thing that I want to ask people. Hey, if you're going through a situation, figure who has gone through that situation and hadn't gotten the results that you want. And let's start helping each other figuring better ways of dealing with our problems. I agree with Irina when she said, with Irina and Bruno when they said that the politics has a big play on this. But even bigger, I think, is us, the people below, the ones who choose these people that are there to supposedly protect what we think and try to do what we want them to do and stop playing lobbyist, because that lobbying game is just hurting us badly. It's filling somebody's pocket, but it's not the people's pocket. And at the same time, education not only will give us the tool to start fixing our justice system or gender situation, but it would also start opening doors into moving into the future. Till when are we gonna still be trying to help kids with education from over 100 years old that was meant for factories, for line work, one thing after the other. That's it. We're no longer living in that era. So
Down with hustle culture. Sorry.
so we have to start waking up. We have to start meditating. We have to start dreaming, manifesting, and then, like Bruno said, taking action. Does anybody else have anything to add?
No.
I love this. I love that even with all of the uncomfortable, we came to the table and had the conversation. Y'all, when you do that, there's nothing that can't change.
Yeah. And believe me, I'm pretty sure we all here have very different ways of thinking about justice system, gender equality. Believe me. And we were able to manage to go and actually put our 2 cents and figure what's going to be the best for a whole as a group and not just for one of us. So if 4 people can do it, I think this can be replicated. So anybody else who has anything to say, or we just say goodbye until the next Thursday?
Sending love and light to everybody. Peace.
Bye, everyone. Have a great Thursday. Enjoy your evening.